Hey everyone, Ted Simpson here. Poke my head in there. I hope you guys are doing alright today. Well, we got another wacky painting for you today. I've got my 12 by 16 canvas up here, portrait style, and this is pretty unusual. I have taped around the outside edge there. I'll tell you why. I went and did a kids class, last Thursday? And today is Tuesday? Yeah, that can't be right. Anyway, it's been a few days, and I painted all this with the liquid white for the kids, but I messed up and I painted too many. So I just took them home, face to face with a couple other canvases. And here we are, a couple of days later, and look at that. Still wet with the liquid white. I haven't touched it or added any more. I'm going to see about doing this painting with just that existing liquid white. Let's see how it works. So I have a really cool calendar pick from the other day, and I just watched the episode. So I'm just going to kind of do my take on it. I believe the episode was called Daybreak. Very, very, very small amount of the cadmium yellow. And I'm going to work some in to have this beautiful glow in the sky today. A little goes an incredibly long way. So I'm going to actually take just a little more. And I didn't have enough to get it all the way up. Just that little bit more there. Such a small amount. Of course, when you're doing yours, you can have it as bright as possible. Sometimes we do this very pastel one. And look at my brush. Look at that liquid white. I'm just marveled that it's still that liquidy, that I can just hop right into to a new painting without having to re-add it. So, let's see here. I have to flatten some of my colors. I'm going to take a little bit of my white just to have some uncontaminated, just a couple little piles there. And this is my midnight black, my Prussian blue, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, and of course you saw the yellow. Don't think we need any more of it. I'm just going to get rid of it so I don't accidentally dive into it. Don't want the yellow snow. Not today, anyway. So, let's take some of that midnight black, and I'm going to go into some of the white. I pull down what I need, work it in until I get the color that I like. What color do I want? Kind of a grayish color there. Now, how gray is completely up to you. I think Bob started out saying dark gray. I don't know. Maybe it's medium. Who knows? So, simple crisscross strokes. Oh, you can see there's some dry spots. I just got to push a little harder. Once it works into the fabric, into all those little nooks and crannies on the canvas, then it starts spreading and blending easier. Ooh. The liquid white makes it very, very easy to get the paint into those little nooks and crannies. But when it's a little bit dry, you don't add enough. It's a lot of elbow grease to get it worked in there, a lot of effort. Getting some color up there. Ooh, glad I'm using the small canvas here. Working it in. Just getting the color. These little marks don't really mean so much. The little brush marks. Because we come back with a clean dry brush. Let me get my beater bucket here. Okay, got a lot of the paint thinner out. Ooh, I'm not sweating, but I'm kind of breathing hard there. Not really. I really want to get all that paint thinner out. There we go. Clean dry brush. Now, look at that. Clean dry brush creates such a soft effect. There's so little paint on here. Look how I'm just dragging it across the yellow too. It's really not mixing in or melting the colors together. When you have just a little bit of paint and a clean brush, you can do that. As you work it, a little bit of that white, it will start lightening up. It will, just a little bit. It's designed to. So the pressure you give, or lack of pressure, you can create these blends and then take out the final little brush marks with just those whisper touches. So, got some light areas in here, some dark areas. Bob went ahead and did a whole lot of stuff, extra stuff. He'll put in a little bit of cloud. Let's see if we can do that. Same color. Maybe there. Just a little indication of, oh, not enough paint in my brush. Just, might work easier for you using the fan brush. You can kind of control those bristles a little bit. Make a little basic shape here. Clean my brush. And blur. You can wipe it all away if you don't like it. Soften it a little bit, just to have something up there. Now he also took the blender brush and put a little bit of white on it. I find it can work just fine with the 1-inch brush. It's really up to you. Put a little color up there, barely soften it, just maybe a little bit of the sun peeking out there. I'm trying to simplify this painting here for a class. So sometimes doing too many things in a class, we just simply run out of time in a classroom setting. So I'm just kind of playing around, seeing what we can do. Look at that little cloud form there. Using some of Bob's techniques for clouds. Sometimes when I'm looking at an episode, I'm like, oh, well, you know, I can do this type of cloud from another painting and put it into this painting. I like that. I like the versatility and the randomness you can just automatically apply to your painting. You know, if you don't like the color, I just soften it. I love having just a little bit of this glow. You see how the clouds come in on both sides, but a little bit of that glow remains here and there. If this isn't bright enough, you could put in more. With the brush, you could just rub it in with the finger, do all sorts of different things. Okay. I'll give that brush a quick clean just one more time. I've got a number of these 1-inch brushes laid out here. I had a class yesterday, and always keep out some extra brushes. I want to grab a brush that I know has a nice bevel to it. The one I was using before was, you know, the bevel kind of got worn down a little bit. So I'm just going to change and get this, basically the same brush. So, let's see here. Same gray color. Just a lot more of it. I'm pulling in here the rest of this white. Let's see. Sometimes when it's all laid out flat like that, there we go. Let me just scrape this up into a little bit bigger pile so I can see what's going on. Okay, a little bit of black, the rest of this white, giving a little wiggle and a jiggle. Trying to collapse those bristles. Not quite there yet. So sometimes, usually, the answer is more paint. More paint in the brush. You'll fight it forever trying to get those bristles to collapse, but if you just accept you're going to be using a bit of paint today, it'll give away, take away that fear of using too much paint. It's okay. Sometimes you got to use a lot. There we go. Look at that chiseled edge. So we come up here, color. Now I got to change the color a little. I want it a little lighter. A little bit of white. I'll just focus on this lower part here. Come in here with my brush, that nice vertical, bring it over to the side a little bit, and you just got to give it a little push. Okay. Pushing sideways. You do one side of the tree, and then you push the other side outward like that. Okay? We're going to be making lots of these here, so you're going to get plenty of practice to find the angle and push sideways. You get the right amount of paint in your brush, and boom, then it starts happening. Now the bristles, see, it lost a little bit. It's a little thick, but now it's starting to happen. I know the tendency is to want to keep going over it. You gotta just let the brush do its thing and just start making some of these. This is just the first layer way off in the distance, so we're gonna try not to mess with them too much. These little ones are the hardest to make because the big brush, you know, it gets a little easier. But since these are off in the distance, they don't have to have that same degree of detail and perfect little branches there as we want in the foreground trees. Okay. Now the lighter this is, the further away it's going to look. I could have added and used a lot more white. Let's see if I can't sneak a brighter one in there. The lighter it is, the further away it's going to appear. Let's try a couple of light ones, maybe off here in the back. There, maybe some there, just barely darker than the sky. Oh, there's a couple ones sneaking back there now. Okay, so with my clean, dry brush, we're gonna beat the heck out of it. Look how we can create mist. Bashing this brush. I was watching Bob do this, and he was hitting it awfully hard, and the easel wasn't even moving. I'm thinking, I need to get myself a cinder block like he had to weigh his easel down so you can get a little crazy with it. And that little distant stuff happening there. That liquid white doing its job. Okay. Now, I'm going to add a little bit more of the black. Want to darken this a little bit. Just the hintiest of hints of blue. Black and white, touch of blue. And now we're going to get a little tougher with it. Push a little more color sideways to make a bigger tree. Here's another one. Pushing one side of the tree to the left, one side to the right. Little narrower at the top, little wider at the bottom. And in between, there could be little things happening in there too. Just load in that color. You get that chiseled edge, and the brush does its own thing. It knows what to do. Maybe a little taller one here. Bob even gives a little bit of a push up and out to get some raised branch effects. Let's do another big one here. Just looking for some detail. Those bristles bending create those little branch effects. Push, push, push. A couple more in between. Try not to kill all the shadows or that little yellow glow right there, so I'll stop before I do. And then, once again, now notice I'm not wiping down too much. I'm letting those bristles bend, and it's going to do the misting for me. If I just continue out a little bit, look at all that little stuff. Now, sometimes, especially when you're moving forward, you're loading a little more color in your brush. You just got to stop, wipe the excess paint off. That will make the liquid white brighter, and you won't dull it all away. And then very lightly, just going to lift from the bottom up. There we go. Something like that. One more time. Let's get some color out here. All that gray color. Let's kind of gather it right back up. And then, let's take the rest of my black. I might not have put out enough. And a little bit of blue. And this time a little bit of brown. Black, brown, blue. Mostly black and white. Little too much brown. So, let me get my midnight black out here. We wanted to darken it, not necessarily brown it. So, let's try this again. Take some more black and white. There we go. A little too brown. I kind of like that color. Let's change it. Working it in. Ooh. Now just a touch of that brown. That's what we're looking for. Now we get to make even more. Make a monster tree here. Bunch of these little guys. Got to find that right angle. You get enough paint in the brush and the right kind of bend, and these bristles just start coming out. This brush here, it's an older brush. It has a little bit of a curve to it I'm fighting with a little bit. That's alright. You'll figure it out. Each brush Works very similar, but can have their quirks. And, oh, I don't want to kill all this golden glow. Let's see about saving a little bit. Making one side of the tree, then the other. Let's see if I can't sneak a little skinny in there. There it is. It's a little wider at the bottom. And definitely the darkest, since this is the closest line of trees. It's darker than the previous layers. Now, there's nothing wrong with whatever other trees you want to do. If you just wanted to make fan brush evergreens and make lines of trees that way, works just as well. Play around. Make your favorite trees. Don't have to do these. This is a great example of the variety of things that you can do with these brushes. And it's one of the episodes where they don't cut away. Bob doesn't cut away to one of his animal friends and shows you all the layers here without cutting away, and you get a lot of practice, or you got to watch Bob give a lot of practice to making these. And he talks about how important practice is, doing these things over and over to get the technique down. And this is an amazing painting to do all that. You know what? I'm going to make everything a little lower. I sometimes don't bring my trees down enough. Bob has very little foreground in this portrait style canvas here. Look at that, just pushing sideways. Makes these nice little effects back here. So having these trees come down below the halfway point is important to the perspective of this particular painting. And he has this a little bit lower on the left than it is on the right. So I'm just kind of playing with that and adding to the bottom. All this detail, bottom stuff in here, we're not going to see as much. It's going to turn into mist. So try not to care. I got those nice little spikies out. That's the important bit. Now Bob didn't do this, but I'm going to show you. Remember how Bob puts the little topper on the trees just by touching and sliding up? Maybe a couple of indications of trunks in these trees. Sliding up here, maybe even a couple of little sticks and twigs behind and around. All these little details back there. Ooh, I like that. Breaks it up a little bit. There it is. I'm glad I did that. Now, once again, let's beat the devil out of it. Wipe some of the excess paint out of my brush. Keep going, keep going. Ooh-wee. Lots of stuff going on now. Having a hard time wiping out my brush one-handed there, so. Very lightly lift up. What we're trying to do is soften this area right here, lifting up. We don't care about these little residues happening. Just trying to lift up and move that mist upward a little bit. All this down here, if you don't like it, you can just blend it away. We're going to be covering it up here shortly. So as long as we see some nice mist here at the bottom, trees just kind of appear out of the mist. we're good to go. So, now, Bob did something crazy here. He created some what did he call it? Powdery snow. And if you watch the episode, he definitely goes in it just like grass. Lots of this bright white paint here. It's like making grass. You can come in here and just tap it on like that. But today, just for ease in teaching the class, I find it a lot more impressive just to pull and push back, working my way down a little bit. I think it makes a lovely flat snow. Now, the angle you make, of course, I meant flat in terms of blanket-like. It does have a little angle here. If you notice, I'm not trying to make it all Arctic white. That little bit of residue from all your tapping creates shadow. So when I'm putting the snow over it, it's not just Arctic white. It's got a little variation, a little shadow in there. You know, as much or as little as you like. The more you mess with it, the more you'll kill the variation, you know? So try not to mess with it. A couple of very light whisper touches. Take out the brush marks, if there are any. And that's it. I love that. I really want to keep playing with it because it feels good going across and smoothing and creating that effect. Kind of like this painting here. You know, nice and dark, but look at all those different colors going on. I love this. I love this technique for making snow. Let's see if I can get that hanging up without it falling over. Okay, so let us, oh gosh, this is such a small canvas. Bob made this big old barn, or cabin, with his big knife, and it was like 3 knife widths, or 2.5 knife widths long. I think it's just too big for this. So, maybe we'll just use the small knife here. I can kind of control it a little better. Look at all this color left over. I might just do this painting again with all the extra paint. White, we'll take a back seat for a minute. We're just going to be using our brown and dark sienna. Bob actually put a little touch of crimson in it. Feel free if you want to. And we're going to be using these rolls of paint. Sometimes big ones, sometimes smaller ones. You're going to have to figure out for yourself which you want to use. So let us come up here and let's figure out the placement here. Something like, oh, let's just say right about here. Figuring out the basic angle. Now we're going to have snow on the roof here, so I'm going to do the roof last with white, not with the brown here. So I really like this technique of making a little wireframe. There's not a lot of paint. Bob actually had to scrape all that excess color off. I don't really have it. But what I'm going to do is just pull down like spreading butter on toast. Getting that nice dark color there. Got my eave, so I'm just going to pull down. Got my color here. Just want to pull down. And I joke about how quickly Bob makes these cabins when I'm talking about him in my classes. I want to say he does these in like 6 strokes. Just so crazy fast. And I've used that as my guide it's just less. Just try to do it in the least number of strokes you can. It tends to work better. And Bob will do these little cheats by touching and pulling in to make a nice dark line there. There it is. So, boy, this is the first time I've done it like this in a long time. So, like when Bob will cheat a little bit. I don't know if it's really a cheat, but just a helpful guide. Sometimes he'll come up and go, ah, and just do it. Sometimes he lines it out first so you can kind of see the perspective. Yeah, this is a different way of doing it. I haven't done it like this in so long. And just lay that out. One trick is clean your knife. Fresh roll every time. Make it a little thicker here. One pull. Wipe and reload. If you want to keep that snow nice and white. Because that contaminates awful quick. And I know everyone just wants that pure white blanket there. You don't always get it. You gotta let yourself be good with it. You know, let yourself be good with it. A little rough looking snow, a little brown. It doesn't all have to be a blanket. Sometimes you'll kill yourself trying to make it. Now, that little tiny lip overhanging, if it's not exactly right, well, you just come right back in with some brown and chop it off. Look at that. See how it cleans up that perspective? Now, a little bit of the white. Ooh, got to get an even roll. And just putting a little bit out there on the back of the roof. Look at that little icicle coming out. Lovely. Now some of that dirty white I've wiped onto my palette. I can use that to make my highlight color. Ooh, that was a lot. I could make 20 cabins with that much paint. You know, just get an interesting marbly mixture. And then I cut off my little roll of paint. Let's see here. Ooh, that's right. Bob made a log cabin in this one here. So I'm going to use the short edge of my knife. Let me show you that. Come in with the short edge of the knife. And what did he do here? Just right. Little vertical lines here. About just past the roof. So don't forget about your eave. You can't really go over that. Leave that eave dark. There you go. Now, if you could have done that with the big long edge of the knife, but then once you go past there, don't really need it there. So the short edge works just fine. There we go. Now, let's see. I want to cut this off. So a little bit of that brown, I'm just going to cut that off. Make it dark again. Now with a little roll, let's change the direction there and put little horizontal logs. Maybe a little lighter. Just want to see a little highlight on the front here. There we go. And for the side, we want it a little darker, so those logs just can't really be seen as super bright. Little indication there. Our little cabinectomy. I love that phrase. There it is. Now, in this scene here, Bob actually made a little lean-to here. I'm going to scrape some of that excess paint away. And we'll take our white. Touch and pull outwards. So sometimes here, like I could have used the big knife and just done it in one. I wanted to make it a little bigger. So still just playing around with the small knife. You can again go forever and try to clean it up. And what I find happens is the more you mess with it, the more you want to keep messing with it. So I'm just going to stop. Let's put in our little porch. Gotta find that angle and do the best you can. We're not out here just like doing, you know, microsurgery here. You get it the best you can, and it should be just fine. Now, a little vertical line here makes a post. Make a little post there. I'll tell you what, I didn't see Bob do it in the show, but I have my little calendar pick where this does appear a little bit highlighted, this porch. So I'm just going to graze a little on there. And since the light's coming down, a little bit lighter right there. Now you could, of course, put in little indications of planks if you wanted to. I'm not saying you have to, or whatever detail you want to do. But now, make my little post. Gotta hold that porch roof up there. And maybe even a highlight. Gotta try to have a little steady hand or get yourself a little brace or stick there. There we go. And Bob just had windows. I'm gonna stick with a door. I want the door. Maybe the door's on the front, so he walks right out into that. I don't know. I'm trying to decide now. Let's go ahead and do Bob's thing. Golly, so indecisive. Scratch away the paint. That was just a clean knife. I scratched away the paint, and what do you know it? I should have saved a little bit of that yellow. I had it out there. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? So a little bit of yellow out there in a roll on the knife. Enough for a bunch of windows there. Get a nice clean roll and lay it on either top down or side by side. Let's just do a little top down. There it is. Gotta make the noise. Doesn't work. There it is. Oop. Boy, that's another thing you want to keep messing with until it gets perfectly square. There we go. And then, let's see about making a window pane. We're going full Bob today. There's a little window pane. There we go. Porch looks a little off, but I think it sticks out a little bit, that's all. So, I think it might be easier. You're doing a little bit of cleanup here. You want a lot of paint on your brush. And let's just push some of that color on just so you can see where that cabin is going to be sitting. So now I did this before with that 1-inch brush. I'm going to show you here just about laying it on with the fan brush. Same way, plenty of color. Not worrying about it too much. But with the 1-inch brush, you go over it and it just smooths a little easier in my mind. Whichever one, try them both. See what works better for you. Now, I'm going to do some stuff here, but for now I just want some paint on the canvas. We're going to change it up here, just putting a little blanket of snow out there. Get it on there, doesn't matter, because you just pull it out and you can change that direction. Now, a touch of that Prussian blue. He creates kind of a little path coming out here. A little wider as we come forward here. Get some color out there. There's all sorts of little things you can do playing around with this path. You actually put a little bit of white in the middle here. And I remember back that desert scene I did a few months back where Bob creates the illusion of those ruts. You know, you put out a little color in the middle and blend it out to give the appearance of a little 2-track, little tires running around in the snow there. Got to give that side of this a little bit of love here. There we go. Little brown there creates a little shadow under this front of the cabin here, the leading edge, whatever we're calling it, the side of the cabin. But if it's not too bright, you can always come back and add a little bit more bright snow and just don't blend it as much, and it'll lighten things up for you. It's truly up to you. Let's see here. Touch of this color here. It's a little darker. Kind of comes out around, create a little ditch. A little bit of white, we're going to blend it away. The right side, blend it away. Bring some snow and blend the right side of that little dark shadow away. The ditch. Even a touch right there. Make it a little darker. Sometimes that, oh, yikes, something in that brush. Sometimes that fan brush creates these, rake lines. So using the 1-inch brush can take those little lines away. There we go. Now, what else we got? Bob put in a fence, other trees, all sorts of stuff. There we go. Just want to soften some of that away. I like that. And of course, right when I thought I was done, just killed that little post. Now it's bright. Alright. I'm going to call that one done. You know, sometimes simple is just fine. You can complicate things as much as you want. Put any foreground trees and grass and whatevers as you like. But for me, I'm going to call this one done. Maybe I'll try it again and do even more detail. Trying to figure out a appropriate painting for my classes. There we go. Fun little scene here. Lots and lots of practice with the trees. Thank you guys. Oh, we didn't do the big reveal. Gotta do the reveal here. Get this corner off. Oh. And the rest of it. There it is. Doesn't that just look ready to go right on the wall? Might want to give it a week or two first before you try touching it. There we go. Nice little matte finish there. Beautiful little scene. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next video.